Hey, I'm Mark,
And I'm Craig.
and this is Songwriters Tales. And today, Craig, tell me who we're having on today. I'm excited about this.
Well, Mark, I'd like to say, first of all, tell everybody out there the reason we started our podcast, Songwriters Tales with Mark and Craig, was because as songwriters, and we've been doing this a long time, we wanted to put up a platform that helps other songwriters get to where they want to be. And you and I didn't have something like this when we started. And so we're bringing people on from the industry that are so full of wisdom and knowledge from their years on the upper level, the ones that are heavy hitters out in Nashville and Los Angeles and New York, not just local wannabes, but these are the people that are actually in the business making it happen. These are trendsetters. So we're bringing back on one of our favorite guests that we've already had on. If you haven't already seen him on our podcast with his episodes, it's Rex Benson. You can go back and pull those up and watch those because he is so interesting and full of knowledge and wisdom. And so we've got Rex Benson coming on today, and he's going to focus on one particular element of songwriting, what it is that all of you songwriters need to know.
That's going to be good.
Yes, sir.
Let's do it. Hey, welcome back to Songwriters Tales. And Craig, who is our special guest?
Who's our special guest, Mark? Well, it's a special guest that we've had on before, and if you've been following our podcast, you will remember this man, and you will appreciate the fact that we brought him back on. Rex Benson out in Los Angeles is a publisher who is in the big time publishing. He works with all the heavy hitters out in Nashville and Los Angeles, and he's going to do something very special today, Mark. He is going to finally reveal to all the songwriters the well-kept secret that only a few know, and that is how to make sure that your song becomes a #1 hit when you're writing it.
Whoa, okay, cool.
Yeah, buddy. Rex, we're so glad you're here.
Well, guys, thanks for having me back. I appreciate it very much.
You
Well,
bet.
you know, we're glad to have you here. We, in all seriousness, you know, we had such a great conversation with you last time, and it actually sparked some ideas, and you and I actually talked about it in LA, and then Craig and I talked about it. But, you know, there are a lot, Craig and I have been writing songs for, you know, way longer than we care to admit, but it never hurts to listen to someone who does this all day, every day about important things. And today you said you wanted to talk about song structure. And, so let's, I don't even want to prompt you with a question. I just want to kind of, Craig, unless you have something you want to say, I think we just, I just want to listen. I want to listen to what you have to say.
Yeah, we'll comment and ask questions as you get into it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think in the last podcast, we talked about the importance of titles and concepts and what we call the hook in Nashville. That still, to me, is the single most valuable thing. The next thing to me is the red flag issue and how we can avoid red flags in our presentations, whether it's us as songwriters or as publishers, whoever might be pitching to someone. And here is the unfortunate reality, I think, of the music industry. All of us who listen for a living, listen all day long, over and over again. Look, we all need a great song. We all understand the value of a great song. We all know it can change careers or the careers of catalogs or writers or publishers. But the truth is, we want to pass on your song. It's not that we have anything against you. It's just that we have 50 more to listen to. Okay. So the next step for my perspective for a writer is when you present your song, make sure that people who are veteran don't look at it, glance at the lyric sheet, listen partly one time through, and make an assessment of your credibility or lack thereof based on something that you can fix, that you can learn. It would be like if you went to the spring training and you said, I'm going to give it my all 8 innings. Well, they're going to see you coming, right? They're going to say that person doesn't understand. Publishers, producers, A&R, people who listen to songs can glance at a lyric sheet for 2 seconds and make an assessment. This person understands or doesn't understand song structure. Probably 99.999% of the people in the world don't even know there is such a thing as song structure, but we all sort of intuitively know it. But there actually are some song structures. And if we can learn to write within them, it's sort of like saying, if you learn how to ride a bike, then you can pop some wheelies. First we got to learn how to ride the bike in our songwriting, I think. And so song structures is a really important part of that. Now, there are always exceptions. Okay. Every single day, there's no written rule to this, but most of the exceptions come when artists are recording their own songs. Let's face it, you can sing anything you want if you're hot and put it on your record. Okay. So let's say for you, Mark, or you, Craig, or for me or any of the writers I represent, including you guys, what I need us to do is to not be as good as what the artists who write their own songs can produce, because, songwriters tell me all the time, hey, my songs are as good as what's on the radio. Great. Completely irrelevant, because those songs are mostly written by the artists themselves.
That's it.
It's a little bit like Oliver Twist going, please, sir, can I have another bowl? We're asking them to take one of their songs off their record in favor of our song. So how do we do that? We talked about concepts last time. We've got to get rid of red flags. We can never have a situation where we present a song as a writer or as a publisher that the listener doesn't get through one time. If they listen, they say, oh, it's too long to the chorus. There's not enough variation between the verse and the chorus. It doesn't lift. The chorus doesn't lift. It's got too many verses for a chorus song. If an industry veteran looks at a song, they're going to immediately recognize that. So I can share some things about song structures and some details if you'd like.
Great.
I don't want to confuse anybody or be too heavy-handed in this, but basically there's 2 kinds of song structures. There's non-chorus structures and there's chorus structures. Okay. And a couple different kinds within. Non-chorus goes back to 100 years. Gershwin, Harold Arlen, Cole Porter, Irving Berlin.
Yeah.
There are thousands of standards that are non-chorus songs. They were written in the American Songbook era we just talked about. Someone to Watch Over Me, non-chorus song. Somewhere Over the Rainbow, not non-chorus song. There's probably, I don't even know how many, but it didn't just stop there. In the 60s, there was a young kid in Liverpool whose dad was a big fan of that kind of music, adult standards music. And that got passed down to this kid. And this kid became the greatest songwriter that ever lived because he picked up on that. And he wrote a bunch of songs with choruses and a bunch without choruses. So we have Yesterday. We have P.S. I Love You. We have Here, There, and Everywhere. We have I Will, which is personally my favorite song by any artist ever. These are all non-chorus songs. So what is a non-chorus song? It's a song without a chorus. And they have a structure. It's verse, verse, bridge, verse. Okay? Or as we say in the industry, AABA. We're not talking about chords. We're talking about sections. Verse, verse, bridge, verse. Now, sometimes in a non-chorus song, depending on the tempo of the song can end up too short. I Will's like a minute and 37 seconds. I don't know why Sir Paul left it that way, but he chose to. Whereas with Here, There, and Everywhere, he extended it And so we have what we call an AABA-BA, which is an extension of the AABA format. So verse, verse, bridge, verse, bridge, verse. So that's a non-chorus structure, okay? Some rules of non-choruses. Your title goes in either the first line or the last line of each verse, never in the bridge, okay? That's where your title goes, okay? So that's real simple. If I look at a page and I recognize that this is a non-chorus song, but the title's in the bridge, I'm going on to the next song.
You've done that to me.
I'm going to say this guy doesn't get it. I will try to teach them, but the reality is this: that people who listen, not professionals, all of us have heard tens of thousands of songs in our lives just every day, right? We intuitively get an instinct about when something's right and when it's not right. So, and it's not just with the American Songbook or with Paul McCartney. By the way, Paul McCartney is the greatest songwriter that ever lived, specifically because his dad taught him that. So he became Harold Arlen with long hair, or George Gershwin in a rock band. That's who he is, okay? But this went on. Country music, 1977. Richard Lee writes a little song called Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Same thing. Look where the title is. My preference, it can be done either way, but again, Paul could do it himself anyway because he's the artist. He put yesterday in at the beginning, you know. But in Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue and other songs, it's the last line, and that's my preference. I heard a song maybe 5 years ago that I was unfamiliar with. I was driving with my wife. We were listening to Tom Petty radio. We had the New Guy show. I don't know if you guys have heard that or not. It's hosted by Steve Ferrone, who was the drummer for the Heartbreakers.
Right.
They call it the New Guy show because he was only in the band for 20 years. Okay. He's the new guy, you know. So on comes this record I'd never heard, Carlene Carter, Unbreakable Heart. It's written by Benmont Tench, who was the piano player for the Heartbreakers. It was produced by the late Howie Epstein, who was the bass player for the Heartbreakers. I'll tell you, dudes, I about ran off the road. It is the most perfect example of a incredibly well-written non-chorus song that maybe I've ever heard in my life.
I had a very similar reaction the first time I heard it. I was like, "Oh
you
my
know
Lord!"
The song.
Oh,
you know
I
the
do.
song.
It's incredible.
Not only is it emotional and is it melodic. See, non-chorus songs, they're more melodic. Each section leads to the next section. Now, you can resolve your verses musically. They can come down to the 1 chord, or they can stay on the 5 chord. The purpose of a bridge is always to lead us back to the familiar section, so we don't ever resolve our bridges. But our verses can do either. But I'll tell you, man, the songs that we can hum, so often those are non-chorus songs. I love them. Go listen to Unbreakable Heart. Whoever's watching this podcast, this, to me, it's if Harold Arlen or Irving Berlin and Paul McCartney had a baby, it would be Unbreakable Heart, written by Benmont Tench and recorded by Carlene Carter.
The melody,
so those are examples of non-chorus
songs.
songs.
So good in that song. The melody is so good.
I believe that Bob Dylan does a lot of no chorus songs, doesn't he?
He does them in a different way. He does them more in a folk way where there's a whole bunch of verses lined up. He doesn't really use what we would consider as non-chorus structure. Again, Dylan is a poet, and that gives him kind of right to go where he wants to go. Now, there's always going to be exceptions again when we talk about the lyric in a song. When we get to choruses here in a minute, and we're talking about chorus structure, I'm going to say, look, I want to hear 1 4-line verse and then chorus. But when you've got a guy who can write imagery like Dylan could, or Townes Van Zandt could, or Bob McDill could, sometimes you can keep the listener's attention longer. I don't know that we can expect, the wreck of the Red Edmund Fitzgerald to come along with its 14 verses and no chorus, but I don't think that's going to happen again as a hit record. But I do think there are exceptions. And certainly when you're a poet, that's a different kind of thing.
Well, I want to reiterate something that you said, Rex. when you first were talking, and that is, first of all, for the listeners, your main focus is pitching songs to artists to artists. I mean, people out there that are cutting records and that are major artists on tour, that kind of thing. And
Correct.
most of them today are writing because they've figured out that if you're writing your own material and keep everything in house, there's more money involved on that end of it. It makes sense. It's just a business deal. But I just want to clarify for the listeners. You can write whatever you want. You can write whatever structure you want. You can write something that has no rhyme, pattern, whatever. You can be your own thing and create the next big craze in songwriting. But when you're pitching, you're talking about the red flags. When you're pitching to artists and to the producers and to the A&R, to managers, anybody who has that is the gatekeeper there, that to get to that artist, you want to keep it where it's familiar. It doesn't throw them off. It's like, what is that? It's confusing. But if the artists themselves, they can write it however they want. If they don't want to,
that is absolutely true.
What's that song by Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young? There's something happening here.
No, that's Buffalo Springfield.
That's
For what it's worth.
Thank you. Buffalo Springfield. Interestingly, that title is not even in the song anywhere. And I play that song when I'm out doing my gigs, and every time I go, no, I need to look that song up. Now, what's the name of that song? I can't, because I'm singing through the song, and the title never comes to me. Usually if you sing through a song, the title will come either in the end of the verse or in the chorus, and I just have to real quick in my mind, and then I have the title, look up the chords. But that one throws me off.
If Stephen Stills, who wrote that song, wasn't Stephen Stills, and he was trying to pitch that to Crosby, Stills, and Nash as an unknown, there might have been a problem there. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, look, we all know that artists write whatever they want to write. Godspeed to them, and we hope they have success. But again, if we're trying to nudge one of their songs off the record, we can't give them a reason not to think that we're worth listening to. Okay.
Yeah.
So we got to avoid the red flags. We got to play within the rules, and then we can be as artistic once we know the rules, so to speak, and then we can do whatever we can. Again, Dylan can change that. Sir Paul can change that. Any artist can change that. If Alan Jackson wants to write something and it breaks a rule, who's going to tell Alan he can't cut his own song?
That's right. Hey, this is Craig with Songwriters Tales with Mark and Craig. Listen, episodes 15 and 16, you want to go back. All the way from Zach Brown's Camp Southern Ground is Jake Dukes. He's got some awesome information about what we've been doing with the veterans down there and what the whole reason that Zach brings them down there. You're going to love it. Check it out.